He was the founder of Buddhism. He was born in 480 before Common Era in Lumbini, Nepal. His father's name was King Siddhartha and mother's name was Mahapasapati Gautami. His father was the king of a large clan called the Shakya, and his mother was a queen. He was brought up in a palace with all the comforts and luxuries possible. When he was a little boy, some wise scholars predicted that he would become either a great king or a renowned spiritual leader. His father tried his best to keep his young son away from the miseries of the world. It is said his father had a premonition that Siddhartha would one day renounce the world. When Siddhartha was 16, his father arranged his marriage with a girl of the same age named Yashodhara. This marriage produced one son, Rahula, who became a novice monk at the age of 7 and spent the rest of his life with his father. At the age of 29, Siddhartha left his palace and family to lead an ascetic life. He thought that living a life of self-denial will provide him with the answers he was looking for. For the next 6 years, he lived a life of extreme austerity, eating very little food and fasting till he became very weak. Over these years, he also gained 5 followers. By fasting, he did not get any answer he sought. After starving himself for days, he once accepted a bowl of rice from a young girl. After having this meal, he realized that starving was not a right way. His followers abandoned him, believing that he had given up on his spiritual quest. He started meditating under a fig tree to find enlightenment. By this time, he saw his entire life and previous lives in his thoughts. After meditating for 49 days, he finally found the answers. He found pure enlightenment, and in that moment of enlightenment, Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha, which means awakened one, or the enlightened one. At the time of his enlightenment, he gained complete insight into the cause of suffering and the steps necessary to eliminate it. He called these steps the Four Noble Truths. He went to the Deer Park in Asitpatana, where he found followers who abandoned him. He preached his first sermon to them and the others. In his sermon, he focused on 4 noble truths: suffering, cause of suffering, state of mind free from suffering, and way to end suffering. The principal figure in Buddhism, he is also worshipped as a manifestation of God in Hinduism, Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and the Baha'i faith. He died on 400 before Common Era at the age of 80.
Good afternoon, children. Today we are going to learn the lesson, The Sermon at Benares. This chapter deals with Gautama Buddha's first religious talk he made at Benares. Gautama Buddha began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautama in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. So, this chapter we are going to learn about Buddha, who was a prince by the name Siddhartha Gautama. And at the age of 12, he was learning the Hindu sacred scriptures, and then he married a princess. And they lived together for 10 years. They had a son. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. So at the age of 25, Buddha was so far living a life which was covered from all the sufferings of life. But one day, when he was out for hunting, he came across a sick man, a aged man, a funeral procession, and a monk begging for help. So all these sights changed his mind, and he went out in search of the solution for the sufferings of the people in the world. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment. What do you mean by enlightenment, children? A state of high spiritual knowledge concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree. So, he was wandering for 7 years in order to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. And finally, he is sitting down under a peepal tree and meditating in order to get enlightened. And he vowed to stay there till he got enlightened. So after 7 days, he gets enlightened, and you should note the name of the tree under which Buddha sat for enlightenment, and it's the peepal tree. Okay, children, when you read the lesson, underline all the important points because they may be asked for your MCQ questions. So, he is sitting there meditating to get enlightened, and after 7 days, Buddha got enlightened. And he is naming the peepal tree as Bodhi tree. What do you mean by Bodhi tree, children? It means the tree of wisdom. And Siddhartha is receiving a new name there, and that was Buddha. Okay, Buddha means the enlightened or the awakened. So that was an important turning point or milestone in the life of Buddha. When he got enlightenment, he is investing his life for the welfare of others to make people relieve from the sufferings of the world. So Buddha was known as a very great reformer, a great social reformer. Even though he was a founder of the religion Buddhism, the world even today looks upon him as a social reformer who worked a lot to bring out the people from the depth of their sufferings. So Buddha vowed to stay there until enlightenment came. Enlightened after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bodhi tree, the tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understandings. At that point, he became known as the Buddha. Underline the points: the awakened or the enlightened. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares. So underline Benares, children, where Buddha made his first speech, first sermon. Yes, it is the place Benares. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. It reflects Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. So children, as far as Benares is concerned, it is a holy place and it's a very important place on the banks of the river Ganga. People who go to river Ganges has a dip, a bath over there, and in order to purify themselves it is done. So the first speech, first talk that Buddha made there was preserved and it is being given here. So it shows how you can overcome the sufferings. Kisa Gautami had an only son and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine. And the people said she has lost her senses. Okay, so there was a lady by the name Kisa Gautami. Her only son died, but she was visiting the neighbors for a medicine to bring him back to life. So all of them thought that she has gone mad. The boy is dead. At length, Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request, I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can. Here thee means you medicine, thy means you are okay. And the girl said, Pray tell me, sir, who is it? And the man replied, Go to Sakyamuni the Buddha. Kisa Gautami appeared to Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl, in her joy, promised to procure it, Buddha added, The mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend. Now one man is directing Kisa Gautami to Buddha. Now Buddha said he will bring her son back to life, but on one condition. Kisa Gautami should bring a handful of mustard seed from a home where nobody has died. Poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, Here is mustard seed, take it. But when she asked, Did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family? They answered her, Alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. So Kisa Gautami was visiting one by one houses, but she was not able to find any house in which no beloved had died. So that's one ultimate reality of life. That's the eternal truth of life, that death approaches everyone's house. In everybody's family, there will be a dead person. Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. Now Kisa Gautami was very tired and she felt hopeless. And she sat at the roadside, at the wayside. And the street lights was there. They were flickering, blinking. Okay. It was coming, lightening up, and it will get extinguished. So likewise it was. By seeing that, Kisa Gautami is comparing it to life. Human life is also like that street light. It will come at once and it will go one day. Okay, if you are born, death is an inevitable part of your life. At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere, and she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief. Death is common to all. Yet, in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. Now Kisa Gautami has realized her fault. She said that she was so selfish in her grief because death is common to all. In this valley of desolation means an area with deep disappointment, grief. There is still a path you can find to immortality, okay? There is a belief that even we die, our souls are immortal. Okay, Buddha is referring to that belief there. But you should surrender your selfishness. Then only we can seek or attain that path of immortality. So, Buddha was able to convey the right message to Kisa Gautami and bring her back to a very hopeful life. Very often when your dear and near ones die, the people will sink into a deep pit of utter despair, and they will just ruin the rest of their life in hopelessness and pessimism. But here there is a hope. The one thing is that you should overcome the suffering or the problem that is troubling you. Then only you can attain the path of salvation. Okay? So Buddha is giving a very good moral thought in this chapter. Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. So life of mortals means those who are born to die. That means living beings. Their life is combined with trouble, pain. Okay. You will have happiness, but also same sad moments. Okay. It's a combination. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals, when born, are always in danger of death. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. Okay, here Buddha is comparing the human lives. First comparison is made to ripe fruits. Okay, children, in a tree when the fruits are ripe, what happens? It will fall down. Likewise, in human beings also, when we attain old age, okay, we will die. And it is also compared to earthen vessels made by the potter. Okay, the earthen vessels, no, it will always break. And the human life is also like that. Of those who overcome by death, depart from life, a father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one, mortals are carried off, like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. Children, underline very important sentence. The wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. Because nobody can save you from death. We can only look and lament deeply. Because everyone will be carried by death like an ox which is led to the slaughterhouse. Not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be the greater and his body will suffer. He will make himself sick and pale. Yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. So the main points we have in the last paragraph. Nobody can attain peace of mind by weeping or grieving. Okay, his pain will get greater and his body will suffer and he will make himself sick and pale, but the dead will not come back by his lamentation. So what you should do? You can obtain peace of mind by overcoming the sorrow. Once you become free from sorrow, you will be blessed. So you should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief from your life. Okay, children, so that is the message of the chapter. So this extract is taken from the collection Values and Voices by Betty Renshaw. Learn this also. It may be asked for extract based questions. So children, read the chapter, underline the main points and learn it thoroughly. Thank you. Have a nice day.
A handful of mustard seeds. Once there was a young woman by the name of Kisa Gautami. Her only son, an infant died suddenly. She went to Buddha and cried, "My only child is dead. Have pity on me and bring him back to life." Buddha replied, "I will do so if you bring me a handful of mustard seeds from a household where no one has died." The woman exclaimed, "If that brings my child back to life, I will do as you say." Determined, Kisa Gautami began her search and approached different houses asking for mustard seeds. She went house to house and begged, "Please give me a handful of mustard seeds, but only if no one has died at your house." Wherever she went, people replied, "We could give you mustard seeds, but in the past, a death has happened in our house." Dejected, she continued her search. "No, no, then I don't want it." She went house to house, but could not find a single house where someone had not died. Everyone was ready to give her a handful of mustard seeds. But when she posed the condition, they were taken aback and were unable to help her. Kisa Gautami understood why Buddha had sent her on such a mission. Her sorrow was lightened. She went back and told him what everyone had said to her. Buddha replied, "My daughter, nothing in this world is permanent. Everything is unstable and is subject to change, decay, and death. This causes sorrow and suffering. The only way to avoid suffering is to take to the process of chanting the holy names of God." Moral: everything in this world is subject to change, decay, and death. Change, decay, and death cause sorrow and suffering. The only way to avoid them is to take to the process of Krishna consciousness and chant the holy names of Krishna.